welcome to another episode of Probably Fishing. I'm sorry about the glare up there. That light sucks. It's been a cold few months here, man, and fishing just has not been on point. The ponds are frozen over now. The rivers are frozen over now. Not enough to go ice fishing on, unfortunately. So not a lot of content being made. So I've decided it's time to make some more content. So today, right here from my house, whoa, that almost fell. We're going to be doing some of my favorite soft plastic rigs. I'm going to show you how to rig them up and how to put them on the different hooks and stuff. I'm going to do 3 different soft plastics today. We're going to do the Texas rig, we're going to do the wacky worm or wacky rig, and we are going to do the Nico rig or the Neko rig. I'm not sure how you actually pronounce it, but I think it's Nico rig. So with that being said, if you like these type of videos, stay tuned. I'm going to show you how to do it. If you don't know how to do it, this will be great for you. If you do, and you just like watching these type of videos, stay tuned. If you don't mind, like, share, subscribe so we can try to get my videos out and have more people see them. I'd really appreciate it. All right, guys. First one's the Texas rig. Let's get into it. All right, guys. So our first setup we're going to be doing here is the Texas rig. Now, this is a very versatile rig. You fish it pretty much anywhere. My favorite place to fish it is in dense weeds because it allows you to go weedless. And around like rocks and, or not rocks, trees and logs because it is weedless and you won't really catch on to those logs as much as you would with an open hook. So the Texas rig is really awesome for that. Now, that being said, I like to use 2 different types of hooks here. The first hook I'm going to show you is this guy. It's a EWG hook, which stands for extra wide gap hook. Now, the key features of this is you will see that the point of the hook is pretty much lined up with the line keeper there. That's what we're calling this little guy. I'm not even sure what that's called, to be honest with you. I just call it the line keeper. And you'll see the body here has got an extra wide little curve to it. That's why it's called an extra wide gap hook. So this hook I like to use mostly with craws, with craw imitations, lizards, you know, creature baits. Anything with a little paddle on them. I like to use this here. So I'm going to show you how to rig this one up first, and we're going to use this little yum lizard here. So this is the type of bait that you would be using, or a crawfish. So the first thing you want to do is you want to determine where the bottom of your soft plastic is. So little eyes on this determines that that's the top, so we're going to flip her over to the bottom, smooth side. You want to take your hook, and that wants to be on the bottom of your bait. Now you're going to go to the nose of your bait, and you're going to stick your hook in the top just to the barb. That's where I like to go. And then you're going to do what's called nose hooking, and that's where you pull it out the bottom of the bait, like so. After you do that, you're going to push your hook, curving it all the way through until you get to this little turn here. Now at this point, you're going to want to grab your hook, grab the nose, and you want to twist it over. So now your hook is facing your bait. Now, what I like to do, if you're a beginner, this is a great thing to do, okay? This is how I learned to do it. You're going to take your hook, put it on the side of your bait, like this, and you see where that curve is right here on the hook? That's where you're going to grab your bait, okay? Right where that curve is. And that is where your hook point's going to go through. So you're going to bend your bait back until your point is right where you're pinching that bait. And you're going to push it through the stomach of the bait, if you will, all the way to the back, just like that. Don't mind my sound effects. Bam, that's Texas rigged, okay? You can tie your line on, and you can literally throw it like that if you want. Now, if you want to make it weedless, what you're going to do is you're going to pull your bait all the way to the top of that hook, so it's right diagonal with the hook, okay? You're going to go to the point of the hook, grab your bait, you're going to pinch it, you're going to pull it forward a bit so it arches the back up, and you're going to stick the back, or the point of that hook, see if I can get you so you can see it here. So arch it, and stick the point of that hook right in the back of that bait. Just like that, okay? So now that hook is inside the bait. And then you're going to pull this back up a little bit so it lines up. Okay, so it's nice and lined up. This makes it weedless. Now I can run my finger right over the top of that. Weeds will go over the top of it. Logs will go over the top of it. When a fish comes up, they're going to come up, they're going to snag it, they're going to bite down on it, and what happens is it'll rip that plastic and that hook will come out. And then you're going to set that hook and you're going to bring that fish home. So that is an awesome technique for fishing in grass, near logs, all kinds of stuff. Okay. Next one I'm going to show you is this guy. Almost looks the same. It's a rounded worm hook. Okay. Now you can use these with creatures like craws and stuff, but I prefer them with the worm style baits just because it I don't know, it just goes better with them. It matches their length and stuff. So we got a worm bait over here. This is a Yum stick bait or Yum dinger. Every company has a different name for them, but it's literally just a tube stick bait. Okay. Now with these, you really ain't got to pick a side because they're pretty much the same all the way around. Some of them will have this little slot in them that they say that you can put the hook inside. I don't care about that. Don't use it much. So with this one, the hook does not line up with the eye keeper or the line keeper, and it does not have that wide angle right there, which makes it line up with this stick bait a lot better. You can also use these with like finesse worms, trick worms, stuff like that. Ribbon tails, they work great with. So yeah, stuff like that. Now, same method. Go to the barb. Okay, I went a little past the barb there, but go right to the barb. Nose hooker through. Push it all the way through until you get to there, and turn it. Easy as that. Okay. Ironically, it's lining up with that little line thing there that I was just talking about. But again, you go to where that hook is curved, bring her down, stick it all the way through the plastic to the other side, and it's Texas rig. Pinch, pull up, put it in the plastic, and then pull that back up. Now with the worms, it kind of makes them funky looking. Makes them look like they have a little crink in them. The fish don't care about that. And what happens here with these type is this will stay pretty much still, but that back end is going to wiggle like crazy. Now a couple different things you can do with these once they're Texas rigged like this. On your line, you can put a bullet weight that goes up and down the line, and that'll help them sink down to the bottom. Or you can go weightless and just let them kind of flutter down to the bottom with the weight of the hook. There is another version of Texas rig that I don't use often. It's called a Carolina rig. And that's where on your line, you will have beads, colored beads, and a bullet weight at the top. And what will happen is when you drag it across the bottom, those beads will clack against the hook and the weight, and it'll just make loud noise, which is really great for finicky fish. But I just prefer the weightless Texas rig myself. So there you have it, guys. That is the Texas rig in a nutshell. So hope you can try it, and hope you can get some big fish with it. All right, guys. So that was the Texas rig. Like I said, very versatile little rig. Use it all the time in the summer in the dense, heavy weeds. So the next rig, if you're still watching, we're going to do one of the best beginner rigs that you can start with, and that's called the wacky rig or the wacky worm rig. It is a beginner's dream, catches fish crazily. Even pro anglers use it, even though they don't like to admit it. So let's get right to it, guys. All right, guys. So the second rig I'm going to be showing you here is the wacky rig or the wacky worm rig. Okay. So what you're going to need, you're going to You're going to need yourself one of these types of hooks. Okay. So this is this hook right here is from 6 Cents. This is my favorite wacky rig hook. They even say wacky rig hook on the pack. They are super, super sharp. Now, there's also some different variants of this. There's one that has a little thing that comes over it that makes it weedless. My dad loves using those, so he can fish this rig in the weeds. I like fishing this rig more in the open, like right next to the weeds. But these hooks are super sharp. So you get one of these bad boys, okay, and there's 3 different ways you can rig this rig up. So again, you're going to be, most of the time doing this rig, you're going to be using a stick worm, okay? You can use finesse worms, you can use pretty much anything that's long and slender like this, but most of the time, this is the type of worm you're going to be using. So, the first way to rig this up is you're going to take your hook, okay, and you're literally going to come at the worm like this, okay, right in the middle, and you're going to stick it through the middle of the worm, and voila. That is a wacky rig right there, guys, okay? So your worm is hanging like that. And see that motion? When you jerk on your rod, or move your rod up and down, that's the motion it does in the water. And also, when it hits the water, and you don't move it, it's going to flutter. So it's going to, if you're doing it weightless, which most of the time you're doing a wacky rig, it is weightless, it's going to flutter like this until it hits the bottom. So that's the first way of doing it. That's I believe, the original way of doing it. And a fish is going to come up, and he's going to see these flailing like that and hitting each other, and he's going to hit the middle, and you're going to hook him and bring him home. The second way of doing this, okay, is, again, hook in the middle of the worm, but instead of doing it that way, you're going to turn the hook this way so it's along with the worm, and you're going to stick it in poke it in the middle like that, and just kind of skin hook it almost. And pop it like that. So now the hook is the long way with the worm. If I can get that to line up right here on the camera. You get the gist though. It is the long way with the worm. Now this way you don't get as much action in the worm, but it also does the fluttering down thing. But I don't care for it. You don't get it. I don't know. It doesn't give as much action if you ask me. The third and final way of doing this, which is what me and my dad do most of the time, just for one reason and one reason only, it saves you on soft plastics. Because when you're sticking the hook through the plastic, it's tearing that plastic up. When a fish grabs it and you hook him, he's ripping that plastic up and fighting. So this little baggie right here is O-rings. You can buy these right at your local tackle shop, Dick's Sport. I got these from Dick's Sporting Goods. From what I've seen, they come in 2 different colors right now, which is black, and then these see-through ones. I like the clear see-through ones because they kind of match up with whatever color you're using. There's a few ways of putting these on. There's the Wacky Worm tool, which you'll slide these over that metal tube. You'll slide this down the metal tube, and then it's easier to pop it on without damaging the plastic. I don't have one of those right now. I don't know what happened to mine. I had one. Can't seem to find it. So we're going to do it the old school way. You find the thin part of the worm. You stick the O-ring on like so. Okay. Then you grab that tail, and you're just going to start rolling it down the worm. Okay. And the cool thing about this is, though, it releases some of the salt out of the worm. Most soft plastics are salted now. So it releases some of that salt and the flavors in there for the fish. So I put it right to the middle, or where this tube part starts. Just like so. Okay? Then, you're going to take your hook, and again, you're going to go the long way, the way I said I didn't care for. But, instead of sticking it through the plastic of the worm, you're just going to stick it under that O-ring. And that allows for that flailing action to really move, okay? Like I said, the cool thing about this is you can use the same worm over and over and over and over again, unless the actual teeth of the fish tears it up. The downside to this method, okay, is say you're fishing in a heavily populated area of panfish, sunfish style, but you're fishing like sunfish, crop, well, not crappie, crappie have big mouths, but sunfish or perch, but you're fishing for bass, okay? This is going to come down, they're going to see that thing, they're going to come up, they're going to grab that worm, and they're going to steal it from you. They're going to pull it right out of there. They're going to grab a hold of that, you're going to feel it, you're going to pull, that's going to slide right off. That is the downside to the O-ring method. Like I said, I prefer the O-ring method just because it saves on plastics, and it still gets that good movement, but I can't tell you how many sunfish or perch have just stolen my worm right off my hook because of it. So that is the downside to this method. But if you are a beginner or even a seasoned vet or a pro, this method is deadly to fish. They cannot stand or resist that wiggling action from both sides. Because normally you only get, like Texas rigged, you're only getting that. But this thing is just flailing in the water and they can't stand it. So that is the wacky rig, the wacky worm rig. I suggest trying it if you haven't, because you are going to catch a lot of fish with this worm. If the fish are not biting, if they are simply just not biting on anything you're throwing, throw a wacky rigged worm and you will catch fish, guaranteed. So that is the second method I'm going to show you guys. Stick around if you're enjoying this, and I will show you one more method of rigging soft plastics, which I love. All right, guys. Yes, the wacky rig or the wacky worm rig, very versatile rig. Fish it a bunch of different ways, and it catches fish crazily. So the next rig I'm going to show you, the last final rig we're going to be doing, is the Nico rig or the Neko rig. I'm not sure how to actually pronounce it. I call it Nico rig. So yeah. I love throwing this rig in springtime, and I catch a lot of pike on it for some reason. And as soon as it hits the ice over or spring back, we're going to start slaying fish again. So without further ado, let's get to the Nico rig. Okay, guys, the Nico rig is a very simple rig to pull off. You need your soft plastic. I usually use some kind of creature bait. You can do it with worms too. Works very well with worms too. But I like to use creature baits. You need the same hook, or the same type of hook from the wacky worm that I got from 6 cents, or you can use a drop shot hook too. That would work too. But I like using the wacky worm hook. And then the kicker here is, it's not in the right bag. I put it in a different bag, but I go to my local hardware store or like Home Depot or somewhere like that, because it's cheaper to get these than it is to get the fishing version. And you want to pick up some little carpenter's nail here. Let's see if I can get that without the light shining on it. The ones that have the little the grooves in them there. This is what makes it the Nico rig right here. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your wacky worm hook, okay? Take your soft plastic, and you are going to back hook, just like you did the wacky worm. You are going to back hook your bait the long way. So you stick it in like that, right? And then you pull it and just kind of skin hook the bait like that, okay? So it's in the back. It's kind of hanging like that. Then what you're going to do, you're going to take your nail that you got there, and right in the nose of the bait, the long way here, you're going to shove that nail down the nose of the bait, and you're going to try and keep it in the bait. Don't let it come out the neck, or make sure it goes straight down the middle of the bait. So you want to keep that bait as vertical as possible, because you don't want it coming out of the neck of that bait, just like so. Okay, and you're gonna shove it all the way down until the head of that nail is just on the nose of your bait. So he's got a little nose there. And I don't know if you can see it. This bait is kind of see-through. You see the nail. Let's see if we do this here. There we go. See the nail in there. Just barely, but you can see it. So what this does, okay, is when you have your line rigged to it, okay, you're going to throw it in the water, and it's going to go down, and this nail in the head is going to keep the head towards the floor of the pond or the lake or whatever you're doing, and it's going to allow the back end to float up, like so. Okay, and it's going to look, as you're jigging it, like it is some kind of fish or creature just feeding on the bottom. Now, depending on what type of plastic you're using, if you're using something like Z-Man or something like that that's very buoyant, that back end is going to just be standing up like this. And you're going to be... If you're using something like this, which is a yum lizard, these aren't as buoyant as like Z-Man, so probably the tail is going to be down like that, but it's still going to look as though it's feeding on the bottom. And for some freaking reason, bass love this, but for some reason, pike just slam this thing all spring long. I don't know why, but this is my go-to pike lure. But just usually use like flashy spinning stuff for pikes, but they love this. I don't know if it's the nail that's flashy and they just see it, but they kill this thing. But yeah, it's simple as that. Just a nail in the nose, hook in the back, and it's feeding on the bottom. So that is the Nico rig. Definitely bring it out and try it out. This is more of a finesse technique for you guys that are wondering. I'm using, this is kind of a large bait to actually be doing this with. I usually use like a drop shot worm with this type of rig, or a small craw. And that's what I slam with. You can do it in these big baits too, but it's more of a finesse technique if you ask me. So, well, there you go, guys. That's the final rig I'm showing you there. And I hope you guys learned something, or if you've already known this technique, hope you guys enjoyed just watching me fool around on the desk here and pretend I was feeding fish. There you have it, guys. 3 techniques that you can bring out to the pond and you can just slay fish with year round, as long as it's not iced over. So yeah, hope you guys learned something, or hope you just enjoyed me fooling around. But with that being said, if you haven't come home in days and your wife is worried about you, wonder where you are, your parents have been calling the police. They want to know where their child has gone to. When you do get home, you look them in the eye and you tell them, well, I was probably fishing. We'll see you next time, guys.